Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hello, and welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Custis, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with my friend, Amy Traugh, a three-time business founder, best-selling author of The CEO Method, an entrepreneur's guide to business success, and a business strategist who specializes in helping solopreneurs break through sales plateaus using data-driven strategies. Amy's journey from a 14-year career in physical therapy to becoming a successful entrepreneur is both inspiring and insightful. And I am so excited to talk all about her personal story, pivoting careers later in life, and exploring how she balances entrepreneurship with motherhood. So let's get into it. And hello, Amy. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much, Noelle. I am so excited to talk to you. When you reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's do this," I'm like, absolutely. Let's make it happen. So
Love
thank you for
it.
the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And I know we were talking ahead of the recording about your journey and just I was explaining, our audience and how we've got some entrepreneurs out there, but we also have moms out there that are thinking about a possible pivot or even just dreaming about what is out there as moms, as women. So I know this is going to be such a great conversation. We're going to be able to touch on all sorts of things, but I would love to start with just your background so our audience can get to know you as a person. So, if you don't mind sharing who you are as a mom, as an individual, all the things.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a wild journey. I still reflect back on it and I go, wait, what just happened? How did this happen? Because I'm no different from you. If you were listening to this, I am that person. I don't have a business degree. And now here I am. Like, how did this happen? My whole life, I was a box checker. I had it all planned out. Go to college, get the degree, get the husband, get the house, all the things. And I was checking all the boxes. From the outside in, I had everything I could have ever hoped and dreamed for and more. Well,
Mm.
then the year 2020 happened. And that was a little bit of a crazy point for all of us. I think it changed everyone's life in one way or another. And it was at that point in time I found myself at a crossroads because all the schools shut down. My kids were in kindergarten and preschool at the time. So it was like, wait a minute, what do we do now? I'm working full time. My husband's been working full time. And now there's no daycare, there's no school. What do we do?
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? My family's always going to come first. Luckily, at my workplace, they were like, hey, we need to cut staff by 50%. Is anybody willing to take a furlough? And I go, I mean, as much as this isn't in the plan, I have to. I have to
Mm.
do this for my kids because family always comes first. That is my primary role is being their mom. We'll figure it out. I don't know how. Anxiety was through the roof, but we'll figure it out one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. And it was for the first time in my life during that period of time when I was home with them that I had the time to pause and really ask myself, what am I doing? Am I going to continue to go through the motions, work 40 hours a week, not see my kids? It's not that I was unhappy. I was so blessed, so grateful for everything that I had. There was that guilt that bubbles up. It's like, who am I to want more? When so much is happening in our world. But I realized that I had a bigger purpose to fulfill. So I took a leap of faith and I made a choice to make a change. And I haven't looked back since. So that summer changed everything for me. It's when I started my first business, grew it, scaled it, sold it, then started a community for mom entrepreneurs, grew that, scaled that, passed that off. And now I'm doing what I loved about my career. And that's teaching others how to achieve their goals. But how do we do that? With data, with the objective approach. Once we have clarity on what you want, we can reverse engineer a plan to make it happen. So it all starts with taking the pause to ask yourself, what do I really want out of this life? and then having the courage to make a choice, to make a change. Is it easy? No. There were lots of tears along the way. I will, full disclosure, say that. But it
Mhm.
all comes down to reclaiming your power and making that choice.
So good. And wow, can I resonate with this story? And this is why I know you and I connected right from the beginning when we met a couple of years ago, I think
Yeah.
now. And I was in the beginning of my journey, and you had had this community, and I heard your story, and I went, oh my gosh. Somebody that gets me, that understands what I have been through as well as a teacher and going through the pandemic and really just seeing life from a completely different lens. And I loved what you said about this, where you said, who am I to feel like I deserve more? Because you already did have so many blessings. And that's the thing that I think is so hard to put our words around because same thing. I had a beautiful career. I have my kids and a home and my husband and things were thriving in my life. It wasn't that I was, at the bottom and feeling awful. However, family is a huge priority for me as well. My values, family comes first. And there was just something in my gut that was not feeling right. And I was really struggling in that space. And hence that led to some decisions, some changes, a major pivot into this space. And that's what I am so excited to talk with you about because, again, I know you get it. And I feel like so many women, whether, for us it was the pandemic, but for so many women, there are so many things happening in the world. There are things happening with our family dynamics, maybe your career, that I think this conversation is so important to have so women know that there are others out here that have done it, that are in the trenches, that are doing it, but also to give them hope that just because we are the people, because again, you said it just like I say it, everything was lined up for me. I knew I was going to be a teacher from the time I was in eighth grade. I was full force ahead, and that was just what it was going to be. And if you would have told me that I was going to make a career pivot at age 49, I would have never believed you. And that's where I feel like I want women to know that your path does not have to be a straight and narrow path, that there are changes that come up in our space. And that's what I'm excited to just really chat with you about today because I know that you leaving your career was not easy. And I'm curious, how did you overcome that fear of failure or that self-doubt during that transition into entrepreneurship? Like, how did that go for you?
Yeah, I just had to force myself to keep taking action
Mm,
because what happens in our lives is we're so focused on what could go wrong. It's primal, it's our brain trying to keep us safe. And I had to really quiet the noise and ask myself, what is it that I really want? And once I had that clarity as to what it was, okay, well, why do I want this? And when I had such a strong why, I knew exactly why I was doing what I was doing. It's like, I don't want to look back with regret, wondering what could have been. So, what I did was I really had to do the inner work. I had to get honest with myself as to where I was and start questioning some of those beliefs that would bubble up.
yeah.
Okay, so what if I fail? Well, I still have a license. I can go find another job in physical therapy. Okay, well, what happens if I don't make any money? Okay, there's other things I can do to make money. Am I
Mhm.
safe? Yes. Have I saved up for a situation that we didn't see coming? Yes. So I really had some things working for me, but it really took the inner work of getting just real with myself and not judging myself for wanting more. Because I'll tell you what, there were plenty of days when that doubt creeped back up. It's like, well, everybody else is crushing it. Why aren't I? And it's like,
Mm,
well, wait a minute. I'm comparing myself to someone else that's been in business for 5, 10, 15 years.
right.
Where is the rational thought process with that? So it's
Mhm,
really having that self awareness to realize that these stories that we're telling ourselves aren't always valid. It's just our
mhm,
brain trying to keep us safe. And
mhm,
instead of focusing on what could go wrong, what could go right?
mm,
What could come out of this? And what a cool thing to be able to show my girls, I've got 2 girls, in real time that, hey, guess what? Just because you made a decision when you were 18 that you were going to take a certain career path, it's okay to change your mind.
yeah,
You can put in the work. You can make the choice to make the change and
mhm,
live a life that you love because we've only got one shot at this life and we don't know where that end point is. It
yeah,
could be tomorrow, it could be in 50 years, it could be,
mhm,
we don't know.
mhm.
So, why are we sitting in just this state of indecision when we can make a choice? And a lot of times, the things we're afraid of aren't really that scary when we start to question them and realize, okay, there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, so many nuggets that you just dropped right there, Amy. Well, one of the things that I loved, and I know that this helped me as I was starting the journey, and I really, take it back to you sharing this within your community, is that you had always advocated for taking the messy action and not waiting for perfection. I literally have that written down in my notes from 2.5 years ago when we had a conversation. And that resonated so much for me because I do think that I was always, again, I was very linear. I knew exactly what I wanted, I knew what I was going to do. And I did have this place of feeling like things had to be perfect before I actually started. So again, I'd love just a little bit more chat around this because I feel like, again, as women, we get caught in that perfection. And so, how has this approach influenced your journey? And then, what can we learn from that? Just
Yeah.
being able to, because I love that you said your biggest anchor was your why. And once you have that why and beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what I want to do, then being able to take that action, that maybe messy action, when you're someone that's more of a perfectionist.
Yeah. And in full disclosure, I am a recovering perfectionist to this day. And part
Right.
of that stems back to the career I was in.
Mm,
I worked in healthcare. You cannot make mistakes because you could potentially harm someone.
great
So there
point.
was always that fear.
Mhm,
And that was the only way that I was able to crawl out of that because I was always the overachiever. I was always the perfectionist. I was always looking for the accolades
mhm.
to my own detriment a lot of times, where it caused so much stress, so much anxiety. And it was all self imposed. It wasn't like, I had parents saying, you have to get straight A's or else you're going to be a disappointment. No, it was all self imposed. But then I went into a
Right.
career where I couldn't fail as well.
Mm,
So I knew that if I didn't force myself to just to get into action, I would just sit in indecision. And it truly is action that creates the momentum. Momentum creates results. It's just by taking those little micro steps forward. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. And I think we've been conditioned to fear failure when really
mm,
failure is one of our biggest allies. I mean, think about it. When
love
we're
that.
kids, when we're learning how to walk, we don't just get up the first time and run. No, we have to push ourselves over. We have to learn to sit. We have to learn to pull ourselves up to standing. We have to take those first steps and be willing to fall down over and over and over. But what each one of those falls does is it teaches us a lesson. So we learn from it, even though we don't realize what's happening when we're infants. Well, it's the
Mhm,
same thing as adults. When something doesn't go as we originally expected, that's okay. It's just information. It's not good or bad, but we
mhm,
create these stories around it. So if we can learn to embrace failure, quote unquote, as an opportunity to see, oh, okay, this didn't go as I expected. That opens up those opportunities. They're already there right in front of us. Again, we're just so focused on what's not working that we forget to turn our head and go, oh, wait, okay, that's just information. Now I know that didn't work. So I can do this to move myself forward. So it's just in taking those little micro steps, that messy action, and really going, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, that's just more information I can use then to catapult my results.
For sure. And, the other thing that I wanted to touch on, and this leads right into that, is when I hear that, I can embrace that so much differently now than 2.5, 3 years ago. And that is, I really give the credit to personal development. I,
Mhm.
I had no idea that becoming an entrepreneurship was also getting a master's degree in personal development. And I feel like, that is how we're able to even get more confident in making those choices and being okay with the failures, being okay and looking at it as this was a learning lesson, this was an experience that I can now grow from. So I'd love to know for you, I'm assuming you're in agreement that as an entrepreneur, personal development was a huge part of your journey, but what have been some of those unexpected lessons along the way in regards to that for you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development journey. I mean, any insecurities that you have will come to the
Yeah.
surface. Any doubts that you have will come to the surface. So
Yep.
I think that's really important for people to realize. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times we find ourselves comparing ourselves to these influencers that we see online and we're like, "Oh my gosh, it must be so easy. I'm just going to open a business and overnight I'm going to be a bajillionaire and have all the sales rushing in."
Hmm.
But the fact is that it's not. It's not like that. You really have to get honest with yourself and you have to learn to be resilient and detach from the outcome. And that was something I really wasn't ready for when I first became an entrepreneur. I had no clue. I'm like, okay, I'm going to build this business and it's going to go awesome. We all have that to some extent. So
Hmm.
it was really, just in practicing and doing it over and over and over and really stretching myself way outside of my comfort zone that I've been able to achieve anything because I'm an introverted person by nature. So I knew that in order to get better at different skills, I had to get out there and do it. I just celebrated episode 400 of my podcast, and people are like, how have you done that? It's been less than 3 years. The
Wow.
podcast doesn't turn three until June. But the
Wow.
reason I did that was because I had to be willing to be a beginner. I had to stretch myself out of my comfort zone. So I did it. I mean, there was a period of 9 months where we were 5 episodes a week. And that was very
Wow.
intentional because I had to be willing to put in the reps to get the
Mhm.
results. I had to check my ego at the door because that was holding me back. Being afraid of showing up, hating the sound of my voice, hating how I looked on camera. We
Mm.
all have insecurities.
Yeah.
But it's like the more you do it, you get desensitized to that. It's like, oh, okay, no problem, whatever. Now I just hit record and I just go on my way because people are always going to be out there. We think they're paying so much attention to us. We think that they're judging us all the time, but the reality is it's just you versus you at the end of the day. Nobody's really paying as much attention as we think they are. Even on networking calls, 99% of the time, people are looking at themselves and how they look on camera. They're not paying attention to anybody else in the room.
So true.
Let's be honest. Like, we're always like checking ourselves, like, okay, is my
Yep.
camera in the right place? Is my hair like looking like a cockatoo today? What's happening? But you
So
have to
true.
just be really willing to stretch outside of your
Yeah.
comfort zone and just be willing to, I love this quote, be willing to be misunderstood by a few in order to impact many. That was Lindsay Schwartz
Mm.
that dropped that at a conference I was
So
at once. And I was
good.
like, oh, Lindsay, yes, you're speaking to my soul. But
Yes.
that's really what it comes down to
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur because it's
Yeah.
scary.
It
It's
is.
new. It's uncharted territory for a lot of us. But
Right.
it is one heck of a personal development journey. Oh.
Yes, absolutely. And that also makes me think about community because
Yeah.
I know that, again, you've emphasized the importance of community, you grew a community. And so share with us in respect to this because I think, sometimes again, we're sitting here alone in our offices, recording podcasts and yes, we're hopping on networking. Now we're out of the pandemic, so we get to do belly to belly networking events and different things. But can you share with us how building a community contributed to your success and why that is so important for entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
in this journey?
It does feel lonely. It can, especially in the online space.
Hmm.
If you're more of a person that's out in the community, yes, you're always around people. But when you're working in the online space as a solopreneur at home, it
Yeah.
can feel so gosh darn lonely. You're like, nobody else gets me.
Hmm.
Well, I felt that way when I was building my first business. I was, middle of the pandemic. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm going to these different virtual networking events, a lot of chambers of commerce, a lot of BNI, but I just couldn't find my people. No one
Mm,
really grasped what it was like to be a mom and a business owner. So
right.
I did what they always say, if you can't find a table where you fit, build your own. So I was like, okay, well, if I feel this way, maybe one or two other people do. So just on a whim, I started this community. I mean, it took off. It just grew
Amazing.
and grew. And it was awesome because
Mhm.
we're not meant to do this alone. And just a powerful way to bring people together that even seemingly unaligned industries, what does that do? It creates opportunities for collaboration. It creates opportunities for partnerships, referrals. I mean, anything you need is one ask away. And that's why I still host a monthly virtual networking
Yes.
call for entrepreneurs to bring us together. And we have a very simple format. What do you need? What can you do for others? We break out into breakout rooms, and that is the format
Mhm.
because I'm a true believer in that a rising tide lifts all ships. If we see someone else out there succeeding, doing what we desire, that's proof of concept. There is room for us at
Yeah.
the table. Once we decide, the competition thing, it's just made up in our head. We all have our own way of doing things. We all have people that we resonate with. I don't have the capacity to serve 50,000 people. Like I don't want to have that capacity.
Right.
But it's good that we do. I still remember I was at an in person event and someone came up to me and I was talking about my business and she goes, "You're describing exactly what I'm thinking of creating." And I was like, oh my gosh, do it. We need more of this in
Mhm.
the online space because I'm not going to be for everyone. And she lived in Michigan. I live in Ohio. I'm like, no, you need this. And how
Yeah.
can I support you? Like, here's some lessons that I've learned along the way because it does building community, you're bringing together a lot of different personalities, a
Yeah.
lot of different emotions bubble up with that.
Yeah.
But, we learn from it. But it truly fosters just such a unique space, a space for collaboration, a space for connection. And it just makes entrepreneurship so much easier. So, yes, huge believer in community. Like, find your people, they are out there. And if you cannot, build your own space.
Exactly, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And, people think it's so wild that, they go, especially, people that are teachers, and I am friends with lots of colleagues still, and they go, well, who do you talk to? Who do you talk to all day? And I'm always telling them, oh, I've got Zooms and I've got a meeting here and networking here. And I tell them that I have literally met some of my closest friends in the last several years because we are on this journey together. And just like we've never met face to face, but I feel this connection with you. And I've got to say, even your networking, your monthly call, it is, like you said, it is such an easy call as far as getting on, and it is making your ask and what do I need help with? How can I help you? That is what the community is built on. But the caliber of women, and like you said, any networking, you're going to bring lots of different personalities, but you're going to make connections that you never thought possible. As a matter of fact, I was just having a conversation with my daughter who is 23 and or going to be 23. And we were having this conversation because she just moved out from living with all of her college roommates and she's now getting her master's living in a different area. And she was devastated and heartbroken. And, luckily I say these are the good parts of the social media part is that you are going to be able to be better equipped to be connected because you're going to see each other on your Instagram and all of the things. We didn't have that when I was younger. It was through a phone call or through writing a letter, like actually writing a letter to someone and putting it in the mail. But I had expressed to her, I said, here's the coolest part that you don't know yet. But I said, you haven't even met your best friends yet. Yes, are these women going to be, probably a part of your life for hopefully forever? Probably. And, you'll nurture that and you'll see where that goes. But you have so many women that you are still going to meet. And that's the exciting part for me is that yes, there are times that you can feel alone. And this is where I encourage women to jump in, get into communities, go to those virtual networking groups, do those things to get yourself out there. And yeah, it's a little uncomfortable at first, it's a little scary at first, but like you said, you do the reps, you show up, you're not as worried about what you look like anymore. You're not as worried about what you're going to say anymore. And you can actually build those relationships behind the scenes. And man, has that been a beautiful gift in this process for sure. And that's what I definitely love. So getting into business, now I want to tap into, you've got a couple of things that are definitely out there. And one of the things that I love is you recently wrote a book, The CEO Method, and I know this offers strategies for business success. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that and how it can benefit solopreneurs?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it was another one of those things. I just took messy action.
Yeah.
I don't have an English degree either. My degree's in physical therapy. Like, wow, this is kind of crazy that I wrote a book.
Yeah.
But the CEO method really unpacks the steps it takes to build a sustainable business. It's an acronym. C stands for clarity because in order to do anything, in order to scale any type of business, you need clarity as to what do you want? Where are you headed? What is your vision? Because what happens is in the online space, especially, we start to adopt everyone else's goals as our own.
Mm.
So this really unpacks exactly what is it that you want your business to look like? Because at the end of the day, you get to make the rules. That's like the coolest part about being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And then we get into establishing systems and automations because systems and automations, that's what gives you the freedom and flexibility. People don't quit their 20 or their 9 to 5 to work 24/7. I know I didn't. And
Hmm.
at the start of business, I found myself doing that. But when I really took the time to intentionally place systems and automations into play in my business, oh my gosh, talk about a game changer. And now with AI, I mean, the book came out last March. And over the past year, the AI like revolution is in full force. It is
Yes.
so cool, some of the things that it can do. Some of the things are still leave a little to be desired, but there are
Right.
other things that definitely are so helpful. And then we get into organic marketing and sales. So, really, that journey from follower to buyer. How are we nurturing people along the way, keeping our pipeline full. And then we wrap it all up. So that's the CEO. Then we wrap it all up with, okay, how do we get results? How do we get into action and overcome all of those self limiting beliefs, all of the fear, not just of failure, not just of judgment, but the fear of success? That's a big one that people don't talk about often enough because
Yeah.
that opens up a whole nother can of worms as to, oh my gosh, like you start to have the success, but then are you secretly self-sabotaging some of your actions there? So it's a weird dichotomy that we have as entrepreneurs. So that's kind of the book in a nutshell. But yeah, it's been a labor of love, and I
Yeah.
still can't believe it's out in the world. And I wrote a book. Like
I
again, messy
know.
action,
It's so
messy
cool. I
action.
know. It's so cool. And I love the balance in the book. And that's something that I really do appreciate because like you said, you tackle those things that are, what do you have to have set up? What are your systems and strategies? But you also get into the real life of it all. And so that's going to bring me to a couple more questions because now you've made even another pivot and you are doing something really exciting. I'd love for you to share with us what it is that's on your plate now in this world.
Yeah. So basically, now I've really been focusing, and this is something that's been there the whole time, but I just
Hmm.
realized it lately. I'm like, what is the one thing that all of my most successful clients have in common? We started focusing on the data, leveraging data to drive your decisions. We've ditched the data drama. We've stopped guessing our way through business and we've started growing. So, this is a shift that I made to really open up that for solopreneurs. Because all too often we see data and we're like, oh gosh, I'm not a numbers person. Like, I get it.
Hmm.
Neither am I. But
Right.
what it does is it lets us take all of that, the drama out of our business. We can see exactly what's working, what's not, where the gaps are, and it's simple. It's sustainable. It is not hard to do. It's like one of those things that if somebody's not leveraging their data, I'm like, oh my gosh, can I please help you? Because
Yeah.
like literally like 15 minutes, we can figure out exactly where that gap is because our
Mhm.
data tells a story. It's that objective information. It's there like a GPS to guide us exactly where we want to go and will recalculate us along the route. It is our business bestie that is there to give us the tough love that, hey, letting you know this isn't really going to plan, but it's not
Mm.
it's okay. I still love you. Like there's nothing wrong with you. I just want you to know that this is going on. And when
Yeah.
we start to embrace it, lean into it, oh my gosh, the business growth that occurs is just wild. And looking back, this is how I've grown and scaled the three businesses from the ground up. I've
Mm.
leveraged my data. I've used the same approach I did in physical therapy, rinse and repeat over and over and over. Is it the sexy stuff? Is it the glamorous stuff? No, but it's sustainable. There's
Yeah.
a reason Fortune 500 companies have entire departments dedicated to this. It's because it works. It's just that roadmap leading us to our destination.
So good. So good. Yeah, because when I started, you're just jumping in, taking that messy action. And I was terrified to look at the data. I thought, oh, I don't want to,
Most
I
people
don't want to,
are.
I don't want to look at that. I'm going to just stay in my creative zone, in my fun zone, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And I realized that there was a lot, and of course, this was much later in the journey that I realized, ooh, this is fun, but it's not producing anything. It's more of a
Right.
hobby. It's more of, a little extra, a little, something that I'm doing. But I'm like, I'm spending a lot of time on that. And I could be doing something differently to grow my business if I paid attention to that. And I am still, and I will be completely transparent here. I feel like I'm still learning this. So I'm so excited because like you said, this has always been there for you. This is part of your book. I mean, you've always looked at this, but now the shift of really putting it out there in the forefront for us as women, and those of us that are running these businesses, I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more because that is something that I do feel like I'm finally in a place, and maybe it's the combination of the self-growth and all of the things that I can go, okay, we're going to look at this. And again, I loved what you said. It's not that, we're going, oh, boo on that. Like, you didn't do a good job there. It's not about that. It really is about, being able to look at it objectively and go, okay, where is it that I can spend my time? Where is it that I can maybe make my own shifts to be in love with what we do? Because sometimes when we're not looking at that data, what I found for myself, I got burned out. I got burned out in certain things. And then when I realized I could let it go, I was like, oh, wow, that brings up like this changes my world. So I am so excited about that. And I think that it's going to offer so much value for women and for, people in business that can take a peek at that. Because like you said, we're doing that in, these huge companies. We do it as a teacher. We're looking at data all the time. Why wouldn't we do it? But I think it's just scary for people.
Oh
I
my
know it
gosh,
was for
yes.
me, for sure.
It's so scary. For most people, it is.
Yeah.
I just put a post up on social media recently. It's like, looking at your data shouldn't be one of those things that triggers like the feelings of being back in high school algebra where your heart's
Yes.
like racing because you're staring at a problem you have no clue how to solve. No, it's there to really help you. And when you can start
Yeah.
to view your business as an experiment, I mean,
Hmm.
that just opens up so many doors because now it's being curious, being a lifelong learner,
Hmm.
which, is something you did with your students, embracing that curiosity, that growth mindset, and really leaning into exactly what's working because you're right. We do. We tell ourselves these stories like, oh gosh, everybody else is posting on social media. So I must need tens of thousands of followers to be a successful business owner. But if you look
Exactly.
at your data, most of your leads are coming in through referrals and word of mouth. Okay, why are we so worried on social media over here? Why don't we use that as a tool to leverage and nurture those relationships of the people that are already in our world versus we need more, more, more? So
Yeah.
it is such a powerful tool.
So good. So good. Well, I want to ask really quickly because I know we have lots of mamas out there. And this just brings up, as I'm thinking about these successful businesses that you're running and you are still a mom. And I know even, scheduling a podcast, we are working around our kids' schedules and figuring it out. So, as a mom and a business owner, how do you manage both of these roles? And what have you been finding to be effective? So, for women out there that are like, oh my gosh, I've stepped into this, or I'm considering it, but I'm afraid because I don't know what that looks like. What strategies have you found effective in maintaining that balance? Or
Yeah.
as best as we can say, I know the
Right.
word balance, that is a triggering word for a
It is
lot
a
of
triggering
people.
word.
But, when we're looking at how do we kind of juggle that and be at a place of more peace with it?
Yeah, it really first and foremost comes down to respecting the season of life that you are in.
Mm,
The way I run my business with a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old is going to be completely different than the mom of a newborn. So,
mm,
first and foremost, you need to know what season of life that you're in because how you run your business will change as your kids get older. I mean, mine certainly has. Especially now, when I first started, they were kindergarten and preschool. Now we're third and fifth grade. Like, that's a huge difference. Now I
yeah.
have hours of time when they're at school where I can just head down focus.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's easy to work nonstop. Get things in here, there. So, really getting clear with what are those boundaries? What are my daily non negotiables that if I get nothing else accomplished today, what will still move my business forward? And that's going to look different for each one, but figure out a way that each day you can gain visibility, you can connect with other people, and that you can just create some sort of value in the world. But more than that, even beyond business, it comes down to three words that are very hard to say. This took me years to be able to utter these three words. I need help. You are
Mm,
not meant to do it alone. Even if you are a single mom, you can ask your children for help. You can ask your friends for help. You can use things like grocery delivery, grocery pickup to save yourself time. There are so many different automations for life available. Take advantage of them. That is a superpower. That is a strength, being able to utter those three words. I need help because this is hard and no one is meant to do it alone.
mm.
So again, check that ego and ask for help. I mean, even my kids, they help out with things around the house all of the time. They make their own lunches. I mean, here's a fun story. When my daughter was in kindergarten, I legitimately hated packing lunches. I'm like, you know what? She's in kindergarten. We're going to see if I can teach her some things. So I taught her how to pack her lunch, and she's been
Yeah,
packing it ever since. She
yeah,
taught her little sister then how to pack her lunch. Like, I haven't packed a lunch in years, and it's glorious. So
right.
it's okay. And that's a life skill then that they're learning. Will it be messy and chaotic at first? Absolutely. I mean, any new skill is, even for
Right.
us as adults.
Mhm.
But when you can ask for help and graciously accept it, oh my gosh, it just lifts such a load, such a weight off of our shoulders.
Absolutely. Oh, this was so good. Amy, do you see? I mean, this is why, listeners, I'm telling you, I was so excited to get her on here because she has so much insight and I appreciate it so much. I have learned so much from you. Seriously, so inspiring. And I know that there is so much benefit in this. And I would love for you to share. It'll be in our show notes as well, but share with us, where we can find you, what's ahead for you, so we can make sure that our audience is following along.
Yeah. So if you are a solopreneur and you love Noelle's podcast, hop on over to my podcast, The Metrics Maven. It is full of data driven strategies for solopreneurs, things that are simple and easy to implement and will get the needle moving. And as a gift for listening today, if you're one of those listeners, you're like, you know what? I've been wanting to start a business, or maybe you already have a business. I would love to gift you a copy of my book, The CEO Method. If you just visit amytraugh.com/free book, it is all yours.
Oh, I love that. And see, she's generous too. I mean, seriously, you got to be following her. Get over to this podcast. It is so good, you guys. And thank you so much, Amy, for sharing this inspiring journey and all of your valuable insights today. Your story for me is just really a testament to the power of embracing change and being able to overcome some of those fears, taking the messy action. And really, what we talk about so much here on this podcast is pursuing our passions at any stage of life. We are never too old. We are never in a position where we cannot make a pivot. There are things that we can do. So, to our listeners, we hope this conversation has provided you with the motivation and tools to consider your own path and the possibilities that come with embracing these new opportunities. And remember, again, it's never too late to pivot and just really live and create the life that you love. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from this discussion. And until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and know that today is right here waiting for you to live your best life. Bye, friends. Thanks. Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.